Yep, go ahead.
All right, welcome back. It's the August edition of Drinks Professionals Network. What kind of a summer has it been for everybody so far?
Too fast.
Fast.
Too fast and too hot.
Yeah. There's Abby. Welcome, Abby.
Hello.
She's in the first timer.
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Welcome. Abby is also in the same space that I am, doing a lot of bulk spirits, working with different brands and distillers and all that. So it's good to have her on board. Let's see who else is here. Charlie's here. Okay, good. So let's do this. Let's start right off with some of the new people. Those of you who haven't been on here, I'll do my quick spiel, which is that this started as a COVID replacement for kind of no conferences and no nothing, and really in partnership with Real Professionals Network that Stephanie is the general manager of, that has created this, facilitated and produced these kinds of networking for commercial real estate. We've taken a page from it. And now we're into the third year of doing this. There's no signs of it going away. We have a great roster of veterans who return to contribute and participate and also learn. We like having new people from different aspects of the industry. So what I'd like to do is start with, I'll start with Celia, actually, and tell us a little bit about what your role in your company and what brought you to this, and if there's something that you're seeing that you want to have for discussion. Then we'll go to Abby, and then we'll kind of go around. I want everyone to do a quick re-intro of themselves, and then we'll get into it.
So good. Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for having me. I have a very big announcement on our end. As of July 31st, so this week, I am the sole owner of Ignite Creative Services. Previously, I had a business partner for the last 14 years. But as time goes on and things evolve, I had an opportunity with an investor to take on the company by myself, and here we are. It's going to be another great journey and a new journey over the next 15 years. But that said, we are a creative services marketing agency. Started off on the operator side, previously before that advertising, and got into the industry because of the need for the marketing services and that extra arm that the operators need so badly in many cases. And then, of course, the beverage programming that can come with that. Over the years, obviously, the beverage programming has evolved in so many crazy, wild ways. And especially with the COVID, budgets went down, creative solutions became a huge need. And that is one of the strategic components that we offer in our business is how do we stretch those dollars further? Not only internal dollars, but also the beverage programming dollars. And more importantly, how do we become an extension to the operators' teams when they don't have folks? So many of the operators that we work with right now are experiencing losses of team members, CMOs, VPs of marketing, marketing directors, whatever that might look like. And so my job is to step in at that point and be that strategic arm that helps them to determine how they pull the food and the beverage programming together. So beverage has always been a huge highlight in our business, but culinary is also a secondary component that we work on and that we develop out for our customers. And then we marry the two because obviously both come hand in hand. So have a huge network of supplier connections in the industry and as well as the operator world. So it's been a wild ride this week, as everything has happened just this week, and I'm balancing all of that in the midst of still keeping all of the current business and future business opportunities rolling.
Good luck to you. Good luck to you. We'd like to come back and learn a little bit more of some of the solutions that maybe you're seeing.
Sure.
And I'm assuming that your work, you said culinary, and are you working mainly with actual on-premise accounts, or are you working on behalf of brands?
So I do both, actually.
Okay.
On 50, I'd say 50-50 at this point.
Okay, so we're gonna want to learn a little bit more about the brands and the brand work, as well as what you're doing at the venue level. Abby, you want to do a little self-intro?
Yeah, of course. So my name's Abby Alexander. I work for the Strategic Sourcing Hub by Black Button Distilling. If you don't know, Black Button Distilling is a grain to glass distillery located in Rochester, New York. And the owner, Jason Barrett, has, it's been 10 years with him. And about 2 years ago, he started the bulk spirit side. We have partners in Europe for French brandy, Calvados, and rum that we bring over. But what we're really excited about right now is Black Button just moved into a new space. It's a much larger space from where we were before. So we have a lot more bottling capabilities, blending capabilities. We're helping with brands for bottling and helping to grow their brand, whether it's juice supplied by the hub or Black Button or even the brand itself. So we're just really excited. I'm happy to join here just to get to know more people in the industry and hear more about what's going on. I do have to leave early, so if I sneak away, that's why.
All right, well, just know that we always share the recording afterwards and the list.
Great, thanks.
I wanted to, before we go around, I wanted to shout out to Tony. I was just going through Distiller Magazine the other day, and I see that there's a nice shout out for Libertine Social as one of the top 10 bars in Las Vegas. And it talks about you and your menu. Very high praise, and good for you on that.
Thank you very much.
Did you know?
I have not seen it. Our marketing department. Oh, very nice. Yay! Thank you very much for sharing that. Yeah, I'm actually at Libertine Social right now, not making any drinks, but long day doing some drink ideation here at the restaurant. So sounds like there's going to be some people in town for ADI.
Yeah.
If you are, I'd love to get together, have you at the restaurant, share a cocktail, and catch up in person.
That would be nice. I think we're going to be, well, the Mandalay Bay is right nearby. That's great.
Everything's close.
Yeah, so I wanted to, let's see, is Mark still here? I don't see him on my screen.
I'm here.
Oh, you are? Oh, there, okay, perfect. So Mark, I wanted to welcome you back because this has been a continued drama of Bud Light, and you guys are getting a lot of attention in terms of your insights on that. So what's, is that settling down?
No. No, it's I think everybody thought within the first couple of weeks there'd be some other news, you know, a war someplace or a nuclear attack somewhere or something to take the news off of Bud Light, but unfortunately that's not happened.
So how much has it dented them so far?
Well, the numbers, as you know, came out, and we've been reporting most of the numbers. Their earnings came out yesterday, and their numbers are down 10.5% year to date. So as a brewery, the Bud Light numbers, we're seeing anything from low double digits to 25, 30%. And I think you probably saw where AB has announced they're going to make some employee cuts. And with the distributors we're talking with, a lot of that is happening. I think the thing to understand is, the brand was starting to, there was some erosion already started before this April date happened. And then of course that happened. And I think the first week it was off something like 25 or 27% nationally. That has gone down incrementally over the course of time, but it fluctuates a little bit. But I think over the last 8 weeks, it's been in the 20s pretty regularly. So yeah, and what I see now is I see AB with a lot of ads about veterans. I see a lot of military ads. I see a lot of ads about working people, that sort of thing. Saw an ad, I think yesterday, for Budweiser, and it was having a beer with a friend, an old friend. And I thought that was really well done. It was just basically talking, they interviewed someone and, he said, I haven't had a beer with so-and-so, why not? Well, COVID, all the things. And then they walk that person in the door and they have a beer together. So I thought that was pretty well done. I think it's out on YouTube if you want to check that out. But, I think it's going to be a long road for that group to come back from this.
Do you think that, is there anything in this that represents erosion in the entire category of the kind of US big brand beer versus now that Modelo has actually emerged as number one?
Yeah, I think two things here. We've looked at some data that shows people are going back to Miller Lite, Coors Light, brands like that they maybe once consumed, and then when Bud Light came out in 1982, maybe they switched to Bud Light, and they're going back to those brands. And some of the comments we're hearing is, well, this is a good brand. I like this. I like taste profile. So I think some consumers are shifting over into, other light beers, and we're seeing that data. But I also think consumers continue to not be very loyal to brands these days. So I think there's going to be a lot of shifting into FMBs, hard seltzers, non-alcohol continues to grow a little bit. And I think we'll see some hard waters and some hard hop waters and some things like that get a little bit of, attention, as these people are just kind of floating out there. They don't know what they want to try, and they'll go back to some of those brands. And you're right, Modelo had been coming up, same thing prior to April. Modelo had been, increasing, and they've had some really great success of late with a lot of their advertising and what they were doing in the market. And that's even evident by the craft breweries that are trying to make a Mexican flavored product. So
Hey, Mark, question
yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
So how much of this do you think is, a poor decision given the political environment on the part of Bud Light, coupled with the overall degradation in market share by beer versus just the poor decision by Bud Light? I mean, Discus just put out a chart that shows that market share for beer is at an all-time low, and spirits, for the first time in decades, is now has an equal market share to beer, where wine seems to be kind of on a level course, if you will.
Great question, Stephen. And I think a couple things. I think our climate right now, people are just ready to fight over anything. You say the sky is blue, and people want to argue. It's not blue. It's light blue. It's dark blue. It's hazy green. I just think people in general are at a very, very unusual state where they want to argue. So, this case will be something down the road that people look at. I hope I'm around when they start some of the case studies and they're trying to teach it in marketing class 101 at colleges across the country, because it's a classic. It's just truly a classic. And no matter where you fall on like you said, the political aspect of things, it's just one of those things where it just got so sideways so fast, and the snowball went down the hill. I also think, to your point, the beer business has had a lot of challenges of late, and so I think this will erode some of those drinkers. I think this will take some of those drinkers into those other categories. I know the Discus people, they've been arguing, lately about the taxes and things like that. And
I'm one of them. I'm on the craft advisory board. I'm one of them.
yeah. And what better time than now to talk about that, and to bring that up, whether it's, valid, is it valid? And how do we fix that?
Well, you bring up the taxes, but there's also the beer side, and the Beer Institute has just released a rabid piece of propaganda, for lack of a better term, that tries to build the same case that goes all the way back to Jefferson and Hamilton, that distilled spirits are a public health risk. They're bad, where beer, wine, and cider are good. And of course, we all know science has proven that alcohol in any form is neither good nor bad. And, a 6-pack of beer, if chugged, gives a very similar effect to doing 6 shots in rapid succession. So there is no public health crisis tied to distilled spirits, but big beer. And the talking points are, I was in a meeting with the governor's liquor advisory group a few weeks ago, and Bob Hunt from Coors basically followed the Beer Institute script about how distilled spirits are a public health crisis. So, what do you think about that and about the Beer Institute's propaganda?
Well, I think that argument will go on, ad infinitum. I think you're going to have, again, people are ready to argue, people are ready to fight. So I think you're going to have those arguments go on. And I think until we get scientific, evidence that says, that there's some equality with alcohol, where does that equality, fall? And I don't know that we'll ever get to that. But I think it gives an opportunity to the spirits industry to continue to push their side of that, and to continue to look for some relevance as to how those things are taxed, and how that, are we all playing on the same level playing field or not? And I don't really have an opinion on either of those, other than it will continue to be an argument. I think that will continue to go on for quite a while. But back to the point about the drinkers, I think it has diluted the beer drinkers, and I think the beer drinkers are going to move into other spirits-based drinks. I think they're going to move into other categories. They move into wine, and may move into hard seltzers. We're going to see a lot of shifting, and it'll be interesting to see where we are. Maybe a year from now, we should make it a point to talk about, where were we, a year ago, and how has that changed? Kind of stick a stake in the ground and say, let's measure from this point on.
Hey, Mark, while you're talking about beer and smaller breweries, what are your thoughts about the Anchor Steam debacle?
Wow. It's a shame to see an institution like that run afoul like it did. And I actually just finished listening to a Brewbound podcast about that. They were talking with a reporter that did some reporting on it. My thoughts are, they are like a lot of small craft breweries across the country, and they're not a small craft, but they're like a lot of craft breweries, particularly, small to mid-sized craft breweries, that are really finding it hard to, make some inroads, and really making it tough to get their product out there. Retailers, we called it skew aside, because now we're going to see in the fall sets, it looks like there'll probably be some, instead of just the fall tweaks that happen in the fall, when they just tweak the coolers a little bit, we're thinking that there might be some major changes, because they cannot wait till next spring to, move things around in the cooler. But back to Anchor, I don't know if it was, mismanagement. I don't know if, that group bought Stone Brewing, and I don't know if that took, some of the attention away. I just don't know. It's too early to tell, but I feel terrible for the employees. I feel terrible for the people that, that was their livelihood. And I think, like a lot of businesses like that, the employees saw it coming and maybe tried to make that vocal and tried to say that, but maybe management wasn't listening, or maybe management knew and they just knew that eventually they would end up, putting the for sale sign in the front yard. But it's a shame. It's
Yeah, and
truly
what's
a
so
shame.
surprising is that was, wouldn't you say that was among the first craft breweries to get a footprint outside of their home market? I mean,
Gosh, let's see, my memory's rough at that, but I think, Widmer Brothers was back in the day, and Red Hook was back in that day. And
Well, but Anchor was older than that. I mean, remember the backstory. Remember-
without a doubt. So
Well-
they're.
I
read that they're
did
the
Reno
oldest.
Brewing Company in '91, and Fritz Maytag, who resurrected Anchor, was
Yeah.
one of our mentors. So if you don't know, the story was that Anchor had survived Prohibition. Anchor was the oldest, if you will, regional brewery in California to survive Prohibition. And I want to say 1975, Fritz Maytag was a student at Stanford, and he was the heir to the Maytag fortune. And Fritz went to his local bar one day and ordered his favorite beer, Anchor Steam, and was told that the brewery had gone out of business and he couldn't get it anymore. So he hopped in his car and he drove to San Francisco, which is 30 minutes away, and started doing some digging, and he cashed in some of his Maytag stock and he resurrected the brewery. And in the process, in many ways, became the founder or great grandfather of the American craft brewing and craft distilling movement. A legendary, more influence in our industry than probably any other single individual in the United States. And so Anchor fills this very beautiful but now sad hole in the creation of what we see today as both our craft distilling and craft brewing industries. So it's really kind of sad. I mean, I know the people that bought Anchor from the Maytags. They had to sell the brewery off because it didn't work with their business model. And if people are looking at me going, who is that? It's Tony Foglio. Tony sold the brewery to Sapporo. And Sapporo, I don't know what the resourcing plan was, but whatever it was, it doesn't appear to have worked. And here we are. Sorry to jump in, Mark, but
Oh,
there's the history.
no, absolutely. And the Fritz Maytag story is that's.
I mean, when we did Reno Brewing Company in '91, Fritz came up and hung out with us in Reno for a bit. And then when I tried to do my first distillery also in late '91, he literally said, drive to San Francisco, or when you coming? And I said, I'll drive down whatever. And he sat me down over lunch and spent 3 hours telling me why I needed to go get a real job when I got out of graduate school and wait 5 to 10 years before I opened a distillery. And he did that. I wasn't special. That was just who Fritz was and still is. I mean, Fritz gave a lot to the industry. And I mean, anybody in the industry that's been around since the 90s has a Fritz Maytag story.
Well, and
There's a backlash. There's a backlash on support right now. Here in San Francisco Bay Area, where people are boycotting support products because of that. So I think this is going to go away fast.
audio is breaking up a little bit there. And so,
Sorry.
Nancy, thank you for sharing that you had international spotted in Dublin 15 years ago. Anchor.
Yeah, probably was something that I would have done a lot of work with breweries and distilleries dating back to the early 2000s, and I was kind of conscious of beer and different styles of beer or whatever. So I would regularly have spotted Anchor, and it was probably one of the first, apart from having Sierra Nevada on a trip to the States and being aware of that. Anchor was probably one of the ones that I would have imported craft beers that I would have bought here reasonably regularly if I spotted it in kind of, there's a couple of specialist off licenses that I would go to. So yeah, it's something that kind of pervaded, and we're watching the story with interest. So yeah, it's always sad to see these things go. So
Yeah. So what's new with you?
oh, what's new? Interesting. Just while we're talking about craft beers, we've actually just brought out a whiskey that's finished in a craft beer cask. We brought out 2 of them, and sadly one of those is from a craft brewery in Longford that is no longer as well. They quietly kind of packed up their tent at the end of last year and closed down. So basically this was one of a couple of casks that we had in with them, and it's the beer is actually, or the whiskey has actually turned out really nice. Now we have another similar beer cask finish from another brewery that thankfully is doing well. So anyway, that's what's new on our radar. What else is new? We've just been busy out and about various events. I was in Belfast last weekend. There was a Belfast Whiskey Week, which was quite interesting. Interesting. There was a load of distillers over from Tasmania for that as well, which was quite unusual. Then next week there's a big event on here. It's the Irish Traditional Music, kind of their annual gathering, All Ireland gathering. So there's about I think it's about 300,000 people or something are expected to gather over the course of a week to this town in the middle of Ireland, and it's all about traditional music, competitions and training and classes and lots of concerts and outdoor gigs and lots of buskers and stuff. But it's a massive huge event. So we're running a pop-up spirits bar at that, kind of takeaway spirits bar, which is really cool. And yeah, it's going to be good fun. And we're doing all of that in eco spirits, so the eco totes, so no single-use glass bottles. So that'll be
The
good
whole
fun.
frugal
Good.
pack.
Yeah, well, no, just eco.
Oh, this
eco
is the
spirits
eco
for
one,
this
the
one,
big-
yeah,
the
we
bigger
haven't
one.
progressed to frugal
Yeah.
pack. So eco spirits, so 4.5 liter totes, and yeah, that'll be really cool.
I see Fred just joined from Frugal Pack. We'll get to him in a second, but I wanted to, speaking of things that are new, Sherman has invited someone on who's Charlie, who's joining us, and I didn't want to overlook his welcome. But I don't know, Sherman, do you want to do an intro for Charlie? Or should I just go right to Charlie?
I just go right to him. Yeah. Do
All
it.
right. Well, Charlie, welcome. Tell us about yourself. I guess you've been working with some brands and design, and tell us a little bit, because Sherman said you the man when it comes to that.
Yeah, well, thank you, Sherman, for inviting me to this. It's really interesting to hear everybody's like insights. I work remotely, so other than like in-person like events and stuff like that, like I don't really hear about anything. So very fascinated. But so I own Americano, which is the like a creative partner for craft liquor brands. We also do wine, but we have like really focused on craft liquor for the last 4 to 7 years or so. But we do like the branding, the packaging, and like marketing collateral. But what makes us really unique is that we've been using AI since like 2018 or so. But we've been using it to get like cold hard numbers to get definitively correct design answers, whether it's like our design or not. And then on top of that, we have some proprietary technology so that we can make customized, like highly customized single barrel labels at scale. So I don't know if you guys have heard about like Rare Character Whiskey Co., but I think we've done like like 300 to 400 different versions of their label that exist out in the world now. And people are kind of collecting them like pogs.
So do you have to do a new cola for everyone?
No, so we do,
Changing.
yeah, it depends on what type of like whiskey it is. Like if they're doing like they're doing like a whole series of like finished in different kinds of barrels. So if they wanted to like finish, it'd be like the type of whiskey and then the type of barrel. So it'd be like straight rye whiskey finished in an amber on a barrel, which is a really popular one. They would get one cola for that, and then every time somebody would buy a barrel like that, then they would just make a new label. But yeah, that one's been pretty. There's like a secret Facebook group that we didn't know about with like 2,000 people in it that are just like trying to find bottles that they can't get in their states and stuff like that. So I think, well, I guess what I'm seeing, and I'm curious what other people are seeing too, but I'm seeing that like single barrel is definitely something bigger. And I've noticed it when I walk into like liquor stores. A lot of the times it's just like a label with like a section for like the store to put their name. And it's like not very customized. So I'm just like kind of curious to see like maybe why that hasn't like taken off so quickly, or if it's just because it is like a creative like execution thing that like can't be done.
I think what you're seeing is a lot more single barrel programs because the smaller producers who are developing relationships with their accounts. It's a great way for them to sell volume because it's basically, their folks pick the barrel. They then are committed to buying the output of that barrel. So they're making a much bigger commitment than 10 cases.
Right.
I think that's why you're seeing more of it, because it's a very profitable sale. It's increasing the volume. But I do think, to your point, it's probably the fear of, not making too many changes because the fear of it's going to require a whole new cola approval.
Right. Yeah.
But if you just change it, as you're saying, you just change something in one place, that's not affecting the rest of the brand.
Yeah.
You're probably okay.
Yeah. And it's just been like, changing out the art. It's like we've done so many like TTB labels at this point that it's like we can kind of predict of like what they're gonna like throw a fit about and what they wouldn't. So it's always like the art area. They're like they really don't care like what that is. So.
So Fred, I know that you joined late and so that you guys sent out the official re-announcement, I guess, or announcement of the frugal pack.
Oh yeah, sorry. So did I miss it? Am I late? I forget. I don't even know what time zone I'm in. But yeah, sorry if I'm late. But yes, that I think it did make the airwaves. So it is official that we will have the frugal plant up and running. Well, we're thinking spring of 24. It takes about 8 months, but you know what things are like in this world now. With it might even be because we can't get a carpenter to put in the last beam or something. But yeah, that's the news. So for those who don't know about that, I don't know if you can see this. This is a frugal. That's my pitch.
That's kind of like the Boston whaler guy cutting the whaler in half. You're just hitting me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Oh, well, good. Well, congratulations on that. All right, so let's go around and who wants to jump in? Lisa's saying she has to run and deal with a stranded employee. That doesn't sound very good.
I see that. Yeah.
Anyone have anything they want to open up the conversation with? Anything new that's happening in the world that you're seeing? Last time, Ernesto, you gave us the big headline of the dropping prices of agave. Has that continued?
Yeah.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, everyone. Good to see everyone. Yeah, it has continued. As of yesterday, there was still some back and forth with people trying to sell or buy their agave for 5 pesos a kilo. So it's, yeah. So and the thing is that, and it's like what they were talking about, the Facebook groups and stuff like that. So there's Facebook groups for agave farmers and sales guys and stuff like that. And I mean the comments on there are like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, stuff like that. So it still continues. I'm actually flying out. I'm flying to Tequila on Sunday, so I'm gonna get a firsthand. I'm gonna go do a bottling of one of our brands, but I'm gonna get a firsthand updated view of what is going on, and I'm gonna go see my agaves. We have agave down there, and check it out. We're gonna keep chugging along. It's no big deal. Of course. At the end of the day, price point for sale of the agave. For me in particular, for what we have down in the ground, we're just going to turn it into tequila anyway. But for the people that are the farmers that are just gonna, out there trying to sell it, there's a little bit of a panic still. Yeah.
And
Definitely.
Ernesto, what's the reason? What's the cause for the drop? Is it overproduction, over?
Glut, yeah, yes. Supposedly, according to CRT, there's enough agave in the ground now for the industry to survive for 10 years. Supposedly. But the thing that what people are saying is that that's for the tequila industry. There's a lot of other industry that goes around and uses agave, like agave syrup, inulina with sugar, stuff like that, and even fibers and stuff like that. What we're talking about, the paper bottles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
People are using agave for other things other than tequila. Having said that, there's also a very big, huge growth of tequila for Asia. So tequila in Asia is growing like crazy. We're starting to send some product to Vietnam and stuff like that. So I think that what the CRT is, they're trying to rein in agave production, people putting agave down. But they're also not looking, I'm sure they are, but they're probably not publicizing the growth in emerging countries for the spirit. Yeah.
Interesting. It just seemed like it was months ago that it was the opposite situation.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been in this industry for 23 years now. So I have friends, very good friends, that in the last 10 years have literally become millionaires being agave farmers, because the price just went up like crazy. It was one time worth more than any other crop in Mexico, because like beans and corn and chiles and stuff like that, which we also have family members that are in the ag industry, and pound for pound, the agave was the king out there, and people made a killing. And and those people kept putting down agave. They kept going, and they still have agave down. And it's just the thing here is to see how that works out. The big industries, the big companies, you guys all know the big brands, they are still putting up, it's kind of like what's going on here in LA with Hollywood and the strikes and stuff like that. So the big companies have shut down production, right? So they're the largest consumers of agave, even though they have their own farms, their own agave fields, they can't produce enough for themselves. So they're the ones that buy a lot of this stuff, right, from everybody. And since they're they're not producing right now, they just got together. The big 3 or 4 companies. It's okay. You know what? Let's shut down. Let's all go to Europe on vacation, or whatever, the owners at least. And they're like, this just shut it down now, forget it. And they have everybody in a panic with, what am I going to do with this agave? The good thing, I think I mentioned it last time, is that the agave, if it's in the ground, right, even if it throws a quiote, it throws up that stalk, you could take off that quiote, and that agave will still be good for another year in the ground. So it's not something that you need to panic, really. They don't need to panic really and say, okay, I need to offload this in the next 2 weeks or whatever. You can hold on to it. It just has to do with do I need money right now? And if you do, you get a hectare or 2 or whatever, and sell that off at whatever amount of money you could get per kilo.
I see that Jason from OM Organic was here. Is he still back? Jason, did you go away?
I'm still here. Let me
Yeah, I
want
want
like
to
30 seconds.
You're also your new perspectives.
Yeah, give me a second. I'm somewhere crowded right now.
Right. While we're waiting for Jason, is it going to be? Do you need him another moment, or? Oh, there he is.
Okay, I can chat now. How's it going?
All right. Welcome.
Thank you. What am I supposed to do? Introduce myself, talk
Yeah,
about what we're
tell us,
seeing in the
because
industry?
you're also new to the group here, and just
I'm
wanted to.
yeah. I'm new to the group. I can't believe it that I'm now like over a decade in the industry. What kind of started out as like a side project 12 years ago with mine and Tony's mutual good friends, Natalie Bovis and I started what was a cocktail company, cocktails made by a mixologist 12 years ago, which was way too ahead of its time and nobody bought it. So we pivoted and started a liqueur brand. And so our pre-pandemic, we were focused like 95% on premise. We had a whole line of flavored liqueurs. And then during the pandemic, we just kind of looked at like what was our top seller, and it was our chocolate liqueur. So we repackaged, reformatted, and we launched that with Price Imports, who we'd never really had an importer before, but we just did a importing arrangement with them on that. And we also launched a hard cold brew, which is essentially organic, just like a espresso martini in a can, basically. But it's our organic chocolate liqueur mixed with organic cold brew. What we're seeing is like we just got back from Tails. I didn't go because I got food poisoning, but Natalie and the whole Price team was there. We've been expanding distribution in markets that I had never paid attention to before, and so it's really making me kind of rethink like where do we put our resources. I can go bang on 1 million doors in LA and everybody's too cool and seen everything, but we're in like 150 accounts in Missouri right now, with me never visiting the market once. So I think for us it's focusing a little more on those markets where we can get a little bit more attention. And then also we've been seeing some traction in duty free and cruise ships. So Celebrity Cruises just put us on a chocolate martini on their menu, and so that's like an avenue I'm exploring more, is expanding more into like cruises and duty free as a way to kind of bring in capital to help fund the US stuff. So yeah, that's my
How many
story.
markets are you in besides Missouri and LA and California?
Oh, we're in like major ones. We're in LA, Vegas, Arizona, New York, Miami. We just opened up New Orleans, South Carolina. We're in like probably like 15 markets right now.
Well, good. Now you're realizing that sometimes it's the feet on the street, and sometimes it's the right
It's a little bit of both. Like, yeah, the big markets, like without feet on the street, it just doesn't, it doesn't work. So, we're a small brand. We try.
Well, good. Welcome.
Thanks.
Eric, what's going on with you guys up in Connecticut?
Yes, this has actually been a really good week for us. So we partnered up with our national champion Yukon Huskies, and so we're in there. We're going to be making a canned cocktail with their likeness. We're prepping that, and then also we got in with one of our large casinos, and along the same lines as Jason, we got in our vanilla vodka. They selected that as kind of what they were going after, and that's going into every one of their espresso martinis. So #1 selling drink on the property. So I'd love to move 6,000-7,000 bottles down the street down to their place. So it's been really exciting. We're running a test batch of bourbon in the back right now. We're trying a new grain supplier, so it's a lot of fun. It's it's nice getting some product out the door on a regular basis. So that's been a big upturn for us. So super excited for what's coming. Yeah.
So with the Huskies deal, do you get to use like at it's not just selling at the venues, you can use that Huskies on all your off premise, and
so they did bring alcohol in, I guess, on campus, so you can get it at their venues, and they've got a couple of, like, they play football off campus, and so there's a big arena actually really close to here, 15 minutes away. So it gets to move through all those processes, and yes, we get to move product around the state with one of them featuring the Yukon logo, and so we're working with them on all the marketing for that right now. Super exciting.
Good. Well, I know you guys have built your brand around sports, local sports.
Got a little bit of here. If I think I can flip my camera if I'm not mistaken here. Where? Let's see. Well, is it not coming out? No worries. I got a couple of hockey jerseys up behind me. All three of us owners, we played hockey, and We're secretly, I guess that was one of them. I last month's call, I joked with a couple of folks how I needed to dream bigger. Because y'all are doing some crazy stuff out there in the industry, which is awesome. And one of my partners like, yeah, I want to bring the whalers back to Hartford. And I'm like, oh, okay, and they'll be the Waypoint Whalers. So that's dreaming pretty big. So we're working on that one right now.
He's going to buy a team.
Yeah, we're going to buy a hockey team and bring it back to Connecticut and be successful doing it.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, and Abby, welcome from Black Button. Say hi to Michael for me. I like working with him.
So Sherman, what's new in your world?
Man, some great updates. Nashville is kicking, as you can imagine. We're 100 events a month doing sampling work. Met with 2 distributors this week that should take that to 200 by the end of September, and maybe 300, 400 statewide going into the first quarter of next year. So brands are spending a lot of money getting liquid to lips. We'll soon be rebranding Shared Spirits Marketing, not the app that we have, but Shared Spirits Marketing to liquidtolips.com or liquidtolipsmarketing.com. We bought that domain some time ago, and it's all about getting that product out. Do have a report on the THC simple syrup front. We now have that in 2 weeks in 18 stores, give or take some change. Start the on-premise push in September, maybe late this month. And right now that's a self-distributed product, but we're already pitching distributors. And as you guys know, you've got to pre-sell as best you can into accounts before distributors decide to pick you up. So we're doing the heavy lifting right now and conducting samplings every weekend, sending people home with a sample. And we've already had depletions and reorders by 2 retailers in 2 weeks from their first order. So, and this morning had our first appointment with a distiller who is anticipating a THC related product, probably a tea to start with, that will include the simple syrup as a go-to-market product, and we'd be selling the product in bulk to them. So Michael, let's do a securitization on unfinished THC simple syrup in a barrel. What do you say?
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. What would that be like? Barrel
Yeah,
aged
doesn't require
syrup?
aging. Yeah, really.
So,
Yeah. So it's all good.
Are you putting the THC in a syrup that then you can sell to other distillers or people who want to? And so it's the raw material.
It's a hemp derived. Yeah, it's a hemp derived THC below the 0.3% line that makes it legal in 42 states. And
that's the one.
it can be delivered in bulk.
Huh. Interesting.
Has there been
But Michael, it's all about getting the app out there and doing samplings and sharing our technology with people. And the bigger the relationships are on the sampling side, the sooner we get a chance to talk to brands about what we do on the technology side as well. So going pretty well.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, what's that, Fred? Did you say something? Oh, okay.
No, sorry. I was scratching my nose.
Shirt.
So Carrie, let's go to Carrie. Let's see what's new in the world of wines.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot. When we talk about it all the time, all these RTDs and everything is hurting us a bit. Learning the hard way, summer when it's 100 degrees halfway across the country is not the time to launch 2 heavy red wines. So it's just, some of the things are coasting along, but there's a lot of challenges out there. I don't think people are ever going to stop drinking wine completely, but some of the categories are saturated. There's just a lot of, rosé was really affected this year for the first time with all of the seltzers, the everything. It's particularly in the female, category.
Send your red wine over to us, Kerry. The weather's been really crap here in Ireland for July.
Okay, perfect. I got a super Tuscan for you.
Red works in the cold.
I mean, really, the timing is the timing, but like the last thing seriously people want to see when everyone is sweating and dying is to taste a big, heavy red wine. But
But you can't not have a heavy red wine when you're having a. big
no,
meal.
you can't. It's just not the optimal time for a launch, but then you don't want to wait till the fall because distributors don't want to do anything OND. So it's just like, you gotta take what you can get and make the best of it.
All right, well, let's see.
I wish I had more to report.
David Grabschi, how are you? What's going on?
Everything is great. Just to tell you a little bit about Siete Letras, I'm the, for those of you who don't know, I'm the global brand ambassador for the brand. We launched earlier this year, we launched the 70th year anniversary Blanco, and it was tremendous success throughout the United States. Believe how fast it sold through. Like in 90 days, we went through 30,000 bottles in the marketplace. So with that said, there's a lot of new projects coming, a lot of new single barrels. We have all different types of cooperage from France, from the United States. Aging a lot of Blanco tequila for customers, doing custom barrel programs basically. And when we get around TTP with that, oh, sorry.
Nope, go ahead.
Yeah, the way we get around the TTP with that is we create a snipe. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, your video's freezing, but your audio is good.
Yeah, about that. I've been having a little bit of problems with the internet here. But that said, there's also another few products coming down the system. I can't really talk. There's really a lot of exciting things going on with Siete Letras. As far as TAG Global Spirits Awards, my partner Tony and I.
Yeah, David, you're kind of
busy.
dropping out. You're kind of dropping out now.
I'm really sorry about that.
Your video. Stop your video for a moment and see if it.
Oh, okay.
You stop video. Now you should. You still there? Oh, I think he went away. I think he pressed the wrong button.
I think you dropped altogether.
I was gonna actually tee up because Tony that's the tequila that got highly regarded at your TAG Awards, right? That's what he was talking about, where you're starting to say. No, you're muted now. You got unmute.
I'm not sure how that happened.
Yeah.
Am I back?
So I think he was starting to say something about the impact of the.
Yeah, I'm back.
Oh,
I'm sorry about the internet connection that I have. It's horrible, but Tony and I have been real busy launching letters out to contacts for early entries, and it's been pretty successful. A lot of work, but I think this year is going to be a real banner year for us. And I think most of you probably know that Tony and I feel very, very serious and strong about the charitable aspect of what we do at TAG. It's just not just to do a very serious spirits competition, but just the give back is unbelievable. And I think a lot of people need to find out about what we do at TAG that makes us different than others out there. So Tony, very proud to be part of this with you, brother.
Well, thank you, David. And I think you should get off dial-up and get your internet.
It's those rabbit ears, man. It's the rabbit ears.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, folks. I've been having some problems with my internet, and I've repositioned my router now, and it's working a little better. And T-Mobile keeps telling me it's going to get better. Trust me. So hopefully the next time, it'll be awesome.
All right,
so,
no worries.
Yeah.
So Tony, what I know that this is the concept of the Spirit Awards is really in recognition of your cousin, who was a bartender who passed, and So what are the kind of, what are you able to do? What's the give back?
Well, thank you, Michael. I established the Helen David Relief Fund in 2010 to assist bartenders going through breast cancer. And my cousin Helen David, along with her mother, opened the Brass Trail Bar in Port Huron, Michigan in 1937. And she ran it for nearly 70 years. She passed in 2006 at the age of 91, but she survived breast cancer twice in her life. And she was a big advocate to the cause. So in her memory, I started the Helen David Relief Fund. It's under the United States Bartenders Guild Charitable Foundation. We've been now able to extend assistance to bartenders going through cancer treatment. So what started out helping bartenders with breast cancer, and that is still our focus. She was a big advocate, as I mentioned, and two-time survivor, has now extended to bartenders going through any type of cancer treatment. And what the Helen David's able to do is assist with the incidental expenses, not so much the medical, but co-payments, groceries, the rent, things like this. So if anyone knows a bartender going through cancer treatment, it's open to anyone working in the profession. You don't have to be a USBG member. Go to the usbg.org charitable foundation, and you'll see all the information on how to apply for a grant.
Hey, Tony.
Yes.
You can count Eddie Garcia and I in this year with joining the program and helping you however you need.
Oh, God bless. Thank you so much. Thank you. And it's so nice to see you join the Roundtable. I've done a lot of work with you over the years and look forward to continuing the relationship, and congratulations.
Yeah, same here, buddy. I really appreciate it. And of course, Eddie would love to get to work with you on a more regular basis.
Yeah. From your lips to God's ears. Let's make it happen.
And I saw, Sue, you put out a note if anyone has samples of some of the new products that they are willing to send to her, she's love to receive. And maybe just make sure that Stephanie has your shipping address, your delivery address. So if anybody wants it, they can get it.
Yeah.
I think I should read the what this is, the top 10 bars. Okay. Libertine Social. Inside Mandalay Bay, Libertine Social is a welcoming hotel bar for three key reasons. First, quality food like corn pudding topped with caviar inside an egg, or scallop crudo and apple vinaigrette accented with chilies, fennel, charred onion, melon, and chive oil. Secondly, kind bartenders who care about making good drinks. Third, and most importantly, a thoughtful cocktail menu from renowned modern mixologist Tony Abou-Ganim, a cocktail pioneer since the 1990s in San Francisco, now long a Vegas restaurant. Drink this. Abou-Ganim is known for creating the cable car in San Francisco at Harry Denton's Starlight Room in the 1990s. His version at Libertine is the menu standout, featuring spiced rum with orange, curacao, lemon, and a thankfully understated reed, not too sweet, cinnamon sugar rim. Tony's Draft Negroni and Libertine G&T, served in Spain's visually striking gin and tonic goblet style, are worth ordering. The Atomic Fizz is an easy drinking crusher featuring vodka and Aperol with lemon, prickly pear puree, seltzer water, and egg whites.
No.
So that's our Tony.
Beautiful.
Very nice.
Thank you very
Ryan,
much.
What's happening in the world of Ryan and modeling for success?
Things have been crazy. We are seeing sampling come back in a heavier way for Q4, which is nice. I think the industry's gotten so competitive that now people are forced to get out there and premise. So that's been nice. But I wanted to ask, we're doing a lot of online stores and DTC too. So that's been pretty heavy the last couple of weeks with brands. And I've had, I don't know about you guys, so I'm interested to hear, but I've had 3 chocolate martini RTDs come across our desk in the last week alone. And I'm seeing this being pushed like crazy. Is anyone
Chocolate
noticing?
or coffee? Chocolate or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting because the espresso martini was supposed to be last year's or 2 years ago's big hit. And it is coming back in the RTDs. I mean, I've been talking about this for months. There's one, the Post Meridian, their chocolate espresso, I mean, their espresso martini in a can won best espresso in the San Francisco competition. So I know that that's happening, and I know that it continues to be a thing. But I don't know if anyone is seeing anything specific, or I don't know. Eric, so you guys doing espresso? Or
On the Rocks has one.
yeah,
that I know does very well. They're
OM does
Yeah,
too.
last week
OM
told
has
me
their
we were
chocolate.
the only one.
Yeah.
Last
We have
week.
one.
Yeah, OM
Not-
does too.
Does it, is it, are you seeing growth in it, or is it just maintaining?
No, we're seeing a lot of placements in hotel room mini bars, you know, and like grab and go. The Sahara in Vegas just put us in the grab and go. So if you think like mid-morning Vegas, you know, some coffee with a little bit of a kick, that's where we're seeing some traction. Not as much on premise, though, some on premise where like if you don't have an espresso machine, ours is high ABV, like sort of contradictory to the low ABV movement. It's like 17.5%. So it's very close to having a real cocktail. So we do have like different than other brands, which are usually low or they're using malt or whatever. We do have some on-premise establishments who are just like, we're sick of having our people make espresso all day long. We'll just shake it on ice and strain it and serve it.
Jason, are you getting around coffee contracts?
Yes, because we're hard alcohol. So like, yeah, I have some accounts where like, you know, we have a cold brew contract, but because it's hard, we haven't had any issues with that.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah,
Tip,
go ahead.
sorry, Ryan.
Hey, Brian.
I know Tip Top has one as well. And I was at Tails, and Moet had a big activation where they had partnered with French Truck Coffee, which is a local brew maker, coffee maker in New Orleans. And they had a couple of really nice coffee cocktails. So it's definitely a thing.
And some use espresso and some don't, you know, so you have to pay attention to that as well, because sometimes it's just alcohol based with flavoring.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we make an espresso vodka with beans that we cold brew and push that through. We've done a contract canning run for someone that did like the super small, the slim cans. They do a espresso martini, but we haven't dove into that yet.
I mean, it's nothing new. It's been around for years. I think I still have a can from 5 years ago, you know, but which obviously shelf life is gone on that. But and now to see this big craze for RTDs in that space has been interesting. And every person that came through the door said, I'm the only one, which is very concerning.
Yeah. Oh, everyone said they're the only one. They don't know that there's anyone else out there.
Nobody like you. So that's about it with RTD. We're just, you know, online stores and direct to consumer is where we're pushing all small brands so they can control their destiny and not
So
have
what are you seeing in terms of direct to consumer, in terms of growth, share of sales coming through the channel?
It's been a lot of startup brands, so it's been great. You know, we've got a whiskey club partner, so we are able to take on whiskeys and then obviously put them into the whiskey club just by default and as a partnership. So that's helpful to new brands, and a lot of these brands have a large social media presence, whether it be from an apparel line that they have or a restaurant that they have, something else they can lean on to make this, you know, fully 360 solution. So it's been pretty great to be able to help these individuals and not have them go into the traditional 3-tier system.
Right. So the secret really is building the strategy around communities of interest that you can reach, rather than just, it's, you know, the initial focus was just the logistics of getting it, you know, online and getting it in a place.
Shelf space.
Yeah.
I mean, shelf space, bars it's gone. You know, how much will they really purchase of your product And then secondly, the grocery stores aren't any better. So if you can get straight to the doorstep
Mhm.
and treat
Yeah.
them right and build that relationship, that's where you can really grow.
So therein lies the need for creative and for marketing and for combined with liquid to lips. And that's why many of us are on this call. Brian, right?
Exactly.
So what else, Brian, did you pick up at Tails? I used to go to it every year and I haven't gone since COVID, but.
I picked up that I'm getting too old for it.
Drinking all day and all night, and then getting up early and doing it again.
No, I feel bad because, you know, I got there on Sunday night. Monday was fun, went out, hit all the activations I could. And then Tuesday morning rolled around and, you know, they start tastings at 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I just feel guilty because I'm like, I don't want to say I don't want to taste it. But at the same time, I don't want to taste it. So I'm really good at touching it to my lips and making it look like something's happening when it's not. But no, Tails is, you know, anybody who's been there knows what it's all about. I mean, I actually had a better success ratio of face-to-face appointments this year than I have in the past, which was great. I actually met with people instead of saying we're going to meet and then never connecting. The one thing I think I took away from it is it seemed like there were less kind of smaller, craftier, like startup-y type brands there this year than before. It seemed like, you know, the Moets, the Pernots, the Diageos, those guys were there in full force. But usually you have a sprinkling, at least, if not more than a sprinkling of smaller.
Historically, it was a launch pad to get a lot of bartenders to do a lot of key mixology influencers.
Yeah.
To see these new brands, taste these new brands. But
yeah, which it still obviously is. It just seemed to me like there were less brands there this year as opposed to previous years.
Well, it's a lot more expensive to participate.
I can only imagine.
You know, I mean, I was there all week. I think I passed you twice, Brian.
Yeah.
I think I saw you at the Indie Spirits event, didn't I?
You did. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, we still did Indie, but I used to get his full sponsorship and for $5,000. And now I can't even at 25 grand, you don't get what we used to get for $5,000.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, say what you will about Ann Tuneman and how she ran things, but the new nonprofit is far less small brand friendly than the old management of the event was.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other question I have that I'll toss out to Stephen and anyone else who can answer, because like I was talking to a really good tequila brand that I met out there, Casa del Sol. And we were walking through some of these activations, and the one at Moet in particular was just unbelievable. I don't know if you saw that, Stephen, but like
I avoided most of the activations. I was there to meet with people and talk, and I'm old enough now. I don't need to go to the parties. I don't need to. I mean, I was invited to everything, and my phone blew up till 3 a.m. every night. And 2 of the nights I was in bed by 9:30.
Yeah, good for you.
So what did they do?
But my question was, like, we're walking through this thing and we're just doing numbers in our head, right? All of their national ambassadors were there. They had tons of mixology. They had 7 bars, mixologists, all the product, all the decorations. They completely took over the space. And we're coming up with these numbers, and it's like, what is the ROI on these things? Like, I get it. I totally get branding and marketing, but it's just an ungodly amount of money that these brands dump. And I question, it's not my place to question, but I just wonder, like, if I had a brand, would I be dumping that much money into something that, you know, I don't really know what the measurable return is. So I'd love anybody's feedback or input or answer on that, but it's nuts.
You know, it was fascinating because I've had this discussion with a lot of people, and so I'm in the middle of a capital raise. It seems like I say that every time. I've been saying that for years because I have. But because I do a lot of work as a master distiller around the world, I know a lot of essentially master distillers, and so pretty much the only people I hung out with this time were my friends that were master distillers that wanted to reconnect with me, and a couple of them were Bacardi masters. And at one point, I I met my friend Owen that just took over as master at Angels Envy. And he drugged me to a Teeling tasting, which I was fine with. My friend Nectali was doing an activation right after that. So I got to get a hug from Nectali, which is a beautiful thing. But then Owen was like, let's go, I've got a rare hour free. Let's go catch up. Next thing you know, we're at the Aaron Rose with the entire activation team for Bacardi Team Enterprises Angel Envy. And I'm looking at just the head count that to support just the Angels Envy brand, which is in the Bacardi world, a smaller brand. And I'm going, holy shit. I mean, they had like 30 people there. What does that cost just in manpower to fly all those people to New Orleans for a couple of activations? And what's the ROI on? Then, I saw my Ann Brock, who's a good friend, and she's master at Bombay and is now director of gin for all of Bacardi. And the entourage that she was traveling with was crazy. I mean, if the Bacardi family wants to spend their money that way, that's fine. But I don't see how that there's an ROI you can get from that.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad
Probably
to hear
more
you say that.
ambassadors than there are accounts.
Well, they let a lot of people go a few months ago, so they had some dollars to burn through.
Well, have you ever seen what Team Enterprises charges for their services? Oh my God.
We just had the 7-Eleven trade show here this week, and Hooters was in town as well. And just for a 10x10 space, no power, they charge for power, they charge for internet. It was $7,500 for a table just to have, and then $150 an hour per bartender, and they're forcing you to use their bartenders from banquet. And the clients can't. And Anheuser-Busch had a massive booth in Celsius. They must have spent at least 50 grand just to get in front of these people, which was great to see, because that's the first time I've seen at a trade show, people actually building something like they did, because nightclub and bar show has died drastically with their experiences. So maybe it'll come back. I don't.
I was at Imbibe here in London a couple of weeks ago, as was Mr. Clancy. And I've got to tell you, most of the big guys did not show up to Imbibe this year. So for those of you that don't know, Imbibe is one of Republication's 3 shows, along with BCB Brooklyn and BCB Berlin. And you had a lot of the national sponsored booths, if you will. I mean, the Americans were there, the Irish were there, the Italians were there, the Japanese were there in force. But I didn't see any of the big brands there at all, where normally they put on giant shows. So, I mean, while Tail still seems to get the big brands because it's in the US, and I think the big brands still recognize that on-premise is the gateway to consumer. It'll be interesting to see what BCB looks like in Berlin this year, or what Athens looks like. And my guess is we're going to see less of the big brands there as well.
Even at ADI, I think like a table, I probably was like late to like getting one, but like even getting like a booth was like, I think like almost like $4 grand. So
I actually complained to them about, I'm on the board of directors for ADI.
Okay.
And I actually said, I think that's a little heavy handed. It was told by the leadership, we need to make the money.
Yeah. I mean,
they're a
it's got,
smaller organization. So
yeah, it's got to come from somewhere, but I mean, that's this, I'm going to go to ADI for the first time ever this year. So if anybody sees me, like I'll still have the mustache, like please say hi.
If anyone needs staff for ADI, let me know.
Yeah. I was like, I wanted to do a table because like, I figured that was the easiest way to talk to people, but it's just like, it's so expensive, but I hear it too from my clients. Like, we made drifter craft cocktails, and like all I hear from them is that like they're being like outspent into oblivion, like by the bigger brands.
They're already, I mean, the New York City Wine and Food Festival for just a regular table, $7,500. The Atlanta one, I'm not even participating in Atlanta because they're outrageous. It's in an open space. If it rains, you're screwed. I mean, I don't know.
Well,
we did a national restaurant show. Sorry, go.
Sorry, I did that one. I did the national. I was at BRE. Oh, you mean the restaurant show, sorry.
Yeah, so we just did Kiddish Fest because we're a kosher producer as well.
Hmm.
And that was a really good show for us, but they wanted 5,600 for a table. And I literally told them, yeah, I can't do that. And God bless them, they dropped it to 1,500 for us. But that's kind of the exception to the rule. And I mean, when you add it up, it still cost me $5,000 to support a one-day show.
Hmm.
Yeah, National Restaurant Show is around like a few grand, but that's like the best show I've ever been to every time we go with the quality of leads, because it's always, you're always talking to the actual beverage decision makers. But they did the same thing where they force you to hire their union bartender, who you end up not using the person anyway because the booth's so crowded. And so you have to pay for 2 people for 8 hours. You end up spending I got a bill for like $2,000 for the bartenders who didn't even pour anything once the entire time.
Oh. Yeah, and then you have to pay for power and your internet and all the other things on top of that. And they won't let you bring in certain items. They want you to rent everything from them. It's just getting out of control.
I mean, but I have United Airlines looking at our stuff from that show. So like if that hits, then maybe it's worth it, right? So
100%.
Yeah. You gotta go big to get the big shots.
yeah.
All right, so let's see.
Stephen, just a question. Are
Yeah.
you guys doing the BCB again this year?
We are scheduled to be on the US Pavilion with Discus this year, yes.
Okay, the US are doing a big pavilion again. Unfortunately, in their wisdom, our state agency decided not to book a booth this year. So not sure.
Park Street?
Not sure. The board, no, board B at the
Okay.
Irish food marketing board decided not to take the booth this year at it. So in their wisdom. So anyway, I'm not sure where we'll end up, but we'll be there anyway at some point. So,
Well, I mean, Europe's frustrating for us because our business plan for years has been 30% export, and we've sort of pivoted away from that now. But we spent years working, all these shows in Europe, partially funded by the USDA with support of Discus, to build trading relationships. And then the trade war killed all our exports. Then of course there was COVID. Then when we the industry got the punitive tariffs temporarily removed in the UK and the EU, everybody in Europe that we'd spent years building these trading relationships placed initial stocking orders. Most importantly, we had a grocery chain in Germany that literally would have doubled my company's revenue. And the war in Ukraine stopped everything again. And so we keep, pushing a bit of money, not as much as we were in working with, these trade shows in Europe, because we do believe that there's an untapped demand in Europe and the UK for American spirits. But, it's like every time we turn around, something bad happens.
Steven, I have a question. Do you have to do like a separate production run in 700 ml for your European partners, or do some countries allow you to sell in 750?
So everything needs to be 70 CL for Europe. We're in 4 countries in Europe plus the UK. And contrary to popular belief, even though the EU is one economic entity, every country, and oftentimes even in countries like Italy, every port or every consigliere at every port will interpret the rules a little differently. So even though we're in 70 CL with quote EU labels, we have to reprint labels pretty much for every market. So we maintain 70 and 70 and 75 CL package with US, European, Canadian, blah, blah, blah. The only country that doesn't seem to care that we're in is Taiwan, and they'll take US labels all day long. And they put a buck slip on it. And then strangely, our German importer, which is a small one currently, will take them, specifically wants 750 CL in US package, and they put a secondary label on it that claims it's 70 CL and it complies with German law. And I kind of go, okay, it's your risk, not mine.
I've heard of some people so you don't have to change out your bottle, just fill a 75 to 70.
Yeah, but I mean, Del Magwe did that for years and it looks like hell.
Right.
You know, now even weirder, Denmark for years would tell us we're EU, we're EEC, but we want 750 CL, and we would do 750 ml rather. We would do 750 ml labels exclusively for them on our US package. And then the last shipment we shipped, which was about 6 months ago, they came back and said, oops, the Danes have now actually started enforcing the EU regs. And so we had to ship them labels, and they had to relabel, and everything moving forward will be 70 CL.
Got it.
But they're not buying a lot. You know, I mean, the EU economy, or the EU economy is in tatters because of the war in Ukraine.
Right.
You know, I
a
mean,
lot of uncertainty. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I expected to do 8 sea container loads this year of gunfighter into a German grocery store. And instead I've done 2 pallet loads of mixed whiskeys into a small retailer in Munich.
Wow.
Or small importer. So.
Economic headwinds. Yes. All righty. Well, unless anyone has a final closing topic or comment, I think, Stephanie, we're dealing with the calendar. The next one is the Friday before Labor Day, unless we choose to move it.
That is correct. So the first Friday would be September 1st, right before Labor Day, or we push it back a week to the 8th of September. So we wanted to open it up for everyone's general thought.
Any preference?
I think the 8th's better, but it doesn't, I don't know. I don't have any big plans yet, so.
It's too early.
We can't believe it's August. I understand.
I know,
So,
I mean,
you know,
I can't even,
that's-
I can't get past August.
I vote the 8th.
I think the 8th would be good.
All right, Sherman.
Eighth
votes
sounds
the
good.
8th as well. All right, we'll
Yeah.
move it to the 8th.
The 8th it is.
All right. So thank you all. Thanks for the new participants. We appreciated the insights. We look forward to your continuing. We'll see some of you we'll see in a couple weeks in Vegas.
Absolutely. I will be sending out everyone's contact information here today, along with the recording of this session. And for those of you that shared this whole opportunity with others, please continue to do that. You know, people in the industry, and we'd love to have more newcomers. So please share.
Thank you.
And stay
Cheers,
cool.
folks.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.